Welcome to the Shock Your Potential podcast with your host, Michael Sherlock. We all have potential, but sometimes we need inspiration to get us to our peak performance. Whether you are starting out in your career, ready to move up the corporate ladder, or taking the leap into entrepreneurship, Michael's guests provide powerful tools and resources to shock your potential. Shock Your Potential is a global professional development training company committed to your unique journey. Learn more about us today at shockyourpotential.com. Listen in to today's expert.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Shock Your Potential. I am, of course, your host, Michael Sherlock. And all month long during May, we are calling this Mindful May. And this series for me is really important because it's about finding success in what we do, our personal lives, our professional lives, our businesses as entrepreneurs, but doing so while maybe actually taking a little bit deeper look at how we are doing on an emotional level or a mental status point. So all of my guests are helping us to understand how to embrace and or deal with the challenges that come with a lot of stressful situations. And my guest today is going to talk about this. And when I tell you the name of her book, you're going to not only say, I need that, but you will be very impressed that it came out right before an international pandemic. But Janet McKee is a speaker, a best-selling author, and a high-performance consultant and CEO of SanaView. Now, her new book that launched right before the pandemic is called Stressless Success, The Surprising Secrets to a Life of Passion, Purpose, and Prosperity. And she talks about, really her own journey of leaving a Fortune 500 company as an executive after hitting rock bottom in almost every aspect of her life. And I know many of you can relate to this. I know that I can relate to it myself. And through that process, seeking answers and making discoveries that enabled her to cultivate a healthier, more elevated version of success. And that's something that I know that we can all take away with. Now, just a couple other little highlights, because I think it's amazing when I find the bios of my guests about some of the things that they've really achieved. And Janet is one of only 200 elite coaches in the world certified as a high performance by the High Performance Institute, and she's inducted as a member of the National Association of Experts, Writers, and Speakers. So joining me today and helping us to talk about how we can all do this a little with less stress is Janet. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you, Michael. I am thrilled to be here.
You had to have laughed when you, released your book, and it's, February of 2020, and the world's looking great, and everybody had been so happy to leave 2019 behind, and your book launches, and then we have a pandemic that might have caused a little stress for you, I'm assuming.
Actually, the opposite, because I could not have planned, Michael, to release a book titled Stressless Success right before everyone's dealing with the worst stress of their lives. I couldn't have planned that any better. But this is what happens when you apply what I'm going to share with your listeners today, then things happen for you at the right time without extreme effort and stress. And when things line up for you because you are lined up with the right energy and flow, then that's how you achieve greater success with ease.
Oh, I cannot wait to ask you questions because, especially this week, since I tape a month's worth of podcasts in a week,
Oh my
this
goodness.
is the week where, between 20 and 24 episodes that I tape, that I get a little tired. I lose some of my energy. And today's only Tuesday. So, I'll definitely pick your brain. But Janet, I had a couple of the highlights from your bio, but tell us a little bit more about you and your business and how you help people to shock their potential.
Absolutely. I empower people with the newest discoveries in how to live a successful life, both professionally and personally. And these are truly new discoveries that are very counterintuitive. And because they are, it will actually shock your audience to hear and become aware of them. People believe that they must stress and struggle to achieve success, when actually you're all making it harder than it has to be. And I'm going to ask today that you set aside everything that you've been taught about achieving success and high performance and open your mind to truly listening these new discoveries that truly will shock you. As you mentioned in my bio, I am the CEO of SanaView, and Sana means one who emanates light, brilliance, and splendor. And in Latin, it means health and wellness and sensible and sound. So, SanaView, the organization, we provide a view into how to embrace a better life, which is happier, healthier, and more successful. And as you already mentioned, I was in the corporate world and had great success, but all of the stress and struggle caused me to literally hit rock bottom in every area of my life. My health completely deteriorated. My husband of 26 years walked out on me and our son in an hour's notice and left me not only heartbroken, but at the brink of financial disaster. So because of all of my own challenges, it led me out around the world to search for answers. And each one helped me, I studied all with all of the great masters in success, positivity, high performance, abundance, all of these things that we've all heard about and read about. But it wasn't until I made these incredible discoveries that made all the difference in my life and in the lives of everyone that I work with. So I'm excited
And
to share that today.
I can't wait to dive into it more because you're absolutely right. You hit a couple things that I was already taking notes on. This whole understanding that many of us were taught that yes, you achieved success, especially in your business life, by being the first to work, every day and staying the latest and working the hardest. And you were the one that, people always said, oh, look at her, look at him. They're really crushing it. And at some point in time, most of us hit a point where that's just not sustainable anymore. And so it may be one point of kind of the dominoes falling down, or it might be 14 points of the dominoes, falling down between marriage, life, health, crisis, that we realize we can't keep this up. And yet it's often hard. It took me my third kind of like full on like meltdown in my career to realize, okay, well, maybe you should have gotten that message the first time, definitely the second. But now that you've gotten it the third time, are you really ready to have a heart attack before you're 40 years old? Because if you're not, you probably better change.
And this is not just about stress management. We've all heard all about, oh, you got to manage stress and all of this for your health and your well-being. It's sure that's part of it. But the deeper understanding, Michael, is that when you stress and struggle, you put walls of resistance up that block solutions and opportunities from flowing to you. When you break down these walls of stress and you learn how to make this shift within you, then everything flows to you with ease. So yes, I achieved incredible success in the corporate world through stress and struggle, but people have no idea the level of success that they can truly achieve when they do the opposite. And that's what shocks people. So it's not just about, managing stress. This is the key to success and to greater levels of success. Because when you elevate and expand your energy or the way you feel, as opposed to restrictive stress and struggle, things happen for you that you could have never even thought of in 1,000 hours of focused concentration. So this is literally the opposite of what we've all been taught. And that is what's so shocking.
Yeah. And I think even, you're absolutely right. I think about when I thought, okay, so I'm not managing my stress. So I'm going to manage my stress, quote unquote, by, going to the spa more, or I'm going to go, make sure that I get at my son's soccer game earlier, all those things that you think are going to manage your stress, but it doesn't take away whatever else is going on. It doesn't take, it actually, I remember at one point in time getting a facial and thinking, I'm here to relax. And I couldn't relax because of all the things that I'd left at work. And I realized this was not there's something still completely out of kilter here. And it's not about, learning how to be Zen or exercising more. There's something in the way that I'm processing my life that is not feeding me. And yes, I'm doing well and I'm making lots of money and things are, look great on everybody else's perspectives, but not on the inside of my own head.
Okay, well, you just said the key thing, the inside of your own head.
Mm,
So that's what we're taught. Oh, you just need to think positively,
yes.
right? And get rid of those negative thoughts. Don't have negative thoughts. That's what's wrong. It's not
Yeah.
about your mindset. And this is what shocks people. And I know this is mindset May or something, but just bear with me. Mindset is piece of it, but there's a far deeper truth that I'm going to explain that is far simpler and far more effective. So let me just ask you a question.
Okay.
Are you able to control all of your thoughts all the time?
No, but I sure try.
Of course you do, because that's what you hear from everybody. You hear, oh, you've got to control your mindset, right?
Hmm.
And you've got to choose these positive thoughts and you got to think positively. And everything they talk about, every expert out there, this is new. I think I'm just about the only place you're going to hear this truth today. Everybody's talking about this.
Hmm.
But you can't control this. You cannot control your mind. And the more we try to, the more frustrated we become because we realize that we can't, because it is not only difficult, it is impossible. You are human. You're going to have all kinds of thoughts that flow into your mind. So don't struggle with that. Let that go. Of course, you're going to have thoughts that are positive and thoughts that are negative. And supporting beliefs and limiting beliefs. And right, you hear all about you
Hmm.
got to get rid of those limiting beliefs. Well, anytime you try to get rid of something or you try to control something, right, you wrestle with it. And the more
Right.
you fight something, the stronger that becomes. You
Yeah.
give your power away to those thoughts and the mindset. The bigger truth is to get out of your head and into your energy.
Hmm.
And this will make sense as I explain a little bit more. Do you mind if I take one moment and explain how I discovered this? Because when
Please
you
do.
understand this, it starts to make more sense because it's a real life situation. I do
Absolutely.
a lot of on-site corporate workshops, off-site leadership and empowerment retreats, but I work with clients one-on-one. And I was working with this client of mine. She's the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. And she said, Gianna, I want to work with you. My business is going well, but it's extremely stressful. But my bigger concern is all of the stress and pressure that I'm under. I'm developing this chronic pain in my abdomen, and I'm very scared that I'm developing a chronic disease. She
Hmm.
said, but don't worry, I know about mind and body connection. And I've read all the books, took all the webinars, all the seminars about positive mindset, right? She said, so I go to bed at night and I repeat to myself positive affirmations. And I said to her that day, I said, Monica, what are you saying to yourself? She said, I go to bed at night and I say, I'm healthy. I'm healthy. I'm healthy. That's when I realized she was forcing a positive thought, but I could feel her fear.
Oh, yeah.
When we have a subject that we are upset about, we're really concerned about, emotional about, right? The more we try to force a positive thought about that subject, the worse it becomes
Yep.
because we're putting more of our energy into it, which is an energy of fear or lack or worry or anger or frustration. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can be saying a positive thought, but feeling something different. And what has been discovered, and not to get into big detail, it's in my book, Stressless Success, but quantum mechanics, which is a theory with quantum physics, the physicists began to uncover that everything is energy. Everything is energy. Within the atom, within this book, in the smallest particle, even though it's solid, it's actually fluid. But the bigger discovery is that the focus of scientific researchers and their deep intent affected the outcome of scientific studies, things they
Mm.
didn't think they could influence. So that the summary there is everything is energy. And if you understand that you emanate an energy from within you, you
Hmm.
emanate that out, and that affects the reality of your life around you, suddenly you realize that you are no longer a victim. You are
Hmm.
no longer a victim of your boss, your spouse, the economy, a pandemic, whatever that is. you actually have the power within you to create a good outcome for your life. Okay. So it's not, mindset is great when everything's going well, right? When
Mhm.
everything's going great, those days where you feel fabulous and you wake up feeling great and everything goes well, and right. And you just, your dog is treating you well, your spouse is treating you well, you drive to work, whatever that is, and you have a great day, then you're like, wow, I had a great day. Absolutely. You want to keep that positive momentum going. But when we're facing a challenge, which is what causes all the stress and struggle, you don't want to try to force a positive thought.
Mhm.
You want to walk away from that and do other things to help elevate and expand your energy or the way you feel. Then you have more blood flow to your brain so that you can think more clearly. You feel better. You're more expansive,
Mhm.
and solutions begin to come to you that you would have never even thought of about the very thing that you're concerned about.
Yeah.
Does that make sense a little bit?
It does, and I had the funniest, example that popped into my head, which you're probably gonna just laugh at me anyway. But as you were talking and you were talking about, how much energy we put into trying to, control things or thoughts, I had this image, and it reminds me of when I was, just, in December, I was, babysitting my grandkids. And so, they wanted to play hide and go seek. So when you play hide and go seek as an adult or an older child, you work really hard to hide yourself. And you think, and then you're always second guessing yourself. Did I hide in the right place? Is there any part of me, that's showing? And so you get found, obviously, because you're going to get found at some point in time. But my granddaughter basically went behind a door that was glass, so she could see me. I could see her, but she thought she was hiding. And she thought this was the greatest hiding place in the world because she's behind a door. And as you were talking, I was like, to her, it was limitless. Like, you're never going to find me. I found the greatest place on earth, and I can see you trying to find me. And of course, as the adult, you're like, I can't see you. Where are you? But what joy of just believing your stuff because you have no limiting beliefs that says I have to hide behind a closed door or in the closet.
Oh, you gave a perfect example of how to elevate and expand your energy. Go do something you love that's fun, like play with a child or go walk your
Mhm.
dog or get outside of Mother Nature. These are things that can expand and elevate. And I know that's like, oh, that sounds too simplistic. But these things take practice, they take deliberate intent.
Mhm.
We studied the world's most accomplished people for 20 years. And we really found some things that were consistent amongst them. And they don't wait for something challenging to arise
Mhm.
to then get themselves out of the hole.
Mhm.
They deliberately build it from the beginning. Okay. And this is, so people say, well, how do I do this? I don't understand. And let me just explain. I think it's really just three parts. One, and it is important that you do take care of yourself.
Mhm.
People think that they stay up late, they get up early, that they work really hard. Like you said, get to work early, stay late, and they're going to get ahead. But when you're exhausted and you're depleted yourself, then when something challenging happens, you have a more difficult time dealing with it.
Yep.
Everything seems stressful when you're exhausted, right?
Yes.
So we found out from the world's most accomplished people, they all understand that wellness is number one priority. You got to get to
Mhm.
bed early. When you wake up, before they even get out of bed, normally we start to think thoughts of worry, like, oh no, I got to get up, I got to feed the dog, I got to deal with my boss, my clients, whatever. We start our day in worry and fear.
Mhm.
So instead, they know to deliberately do anything that feels better, and they'll create thoughts that feel better. They're not going to force a positive thought about something they're upset about. Like, what can you do to feel better, even slightly, before you get out of bed? And then you've got to drink fresh water, eat real food, move your body, breathe fresh air, get in Mother Nature, period. Okay, so wellness, you've got to take care of yourself. It is amazing, even myself, when I think I can stay up late, get more work done, I'm
Mhm.
not the same the next day. And so
Yep.
much. Okay, so please, that's really important, number one. But number two, recognize, be aware of the way you feel at any
Mhm.
point in time. and recognize when you're feeling discomfort, right?
Yep.
When something feels uncomfortable within you, then you know that if what's going on within you creates your life around you, you want to just be aware of when you're feeling that discomfort, you're creating an uncomfortable outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So, number one, I like to give the analogy of a ladder. Look, go back to Monica, my client. She was feeling all this fear and anxiety about this pain she was feeling and all of this, right? So she was on the bottom rung of a ladder and she was trying to leap to the top rung of a ladder in one thought, I'm healthy.
Yeah.
But it didn't really feel right to her.
Yeah.
She was going too far, too fast. If you leap from the bottom rung of a ladder, top rung of a ladder, what's going to happen? You're going to fall off the ladder and break your leg or worse.
Yep.
Instead, learn to climb the ladder little by little with smaller thoughts that feel better about that subject. So I said to her, Monica, you're a smart woman, right? Yes, I am. And your body is showing you that something's out of balance. Yes, it
Right.
is. So isn't that amazing that your body is showing you that something's out of balance and that you should begin to search for solutions? Yes, it is. So actually that pain that you're feeling is a good thing.
Yes.
Yes, it is. So isn't that, and once I started to have her climb the ladder, so you gain a grip on a rung and you find your footing. As you climb, because it feels more solid, you feel better. Actually, when I started to do that with her, her pain started to dissipate. Isn't that amazing? Because she
Yeah.
wasn't in fear over the pain. She was more in acceptance, like, okay, maybe this is a good thing. But at
Yeah.
one point, Michael, you'll climb too high and you'll notice you start to feel uncomfortable again.
Yep.
That's when I say on that subject, that's when I say walk away from the subject, get off the ladder, walk away, put it aside, do anything and everything that helps you to feel better. Play with your granddaughter, think about your granddaughter, gratitude, appreciation, prayer, meditation, all of these things that we know are good for us. You want to do that. You want to have in your hip pocket a list of tools. Get off the subject and do anything that helps you to feel slightly better. You don't have to be in bliss. Slightly
Right.
better, even if it's just acceptance. Like, okay, I'm dealing with a challenge. But look at this. Have you had challenges in your life that you've overcome in the past? They probably all taught you something, made you stronger and wiser. You could even just say to yourself, okay, I've overcome challenges in the past. They've always helped me in some way become stronger and wiser. So I wonder what this challenge is teaching me or showing me. Just getting to acceptance feels better. But then again, get outside. I love to dance and sing. I love to get outside in Mother Nature, feed the birds, do whatever helps you to just elevate and expand. Then when you go back to the ladder or you go back to the subject that was concerning you, biologically, you have more blood flow to your brain and you're able to think more clearly and you're more open to possibilities. You're no longer blocking solutions.
Right.
This is very simple. I'm not saying control your thoughts. I'm not
Right.
saying you have to have mindset control. I'm saying work them, help them yourself to feel better, get away from it, do anything that elevates your spirit, then revisit.
Yep.
And you will notice you will have the energy and vitality to climb the ladder further. But more importantly, solutions and opportunities are going to flow to you that you never will have expected, never could have thought of. This is stressless success. You have no idea the power you have within you just by doing this to create incredible outcomes.
Yeah.
When I started playing around with this, actually SanaView, my company that I own, we also own an organic farm, a 52-acre historic landmark organic produce farm, and we do different things in our barn and so forth. Well, we were struggling. That piece of our business was losing money because it was costing more to grow organic produce than we could make selling it. Like that was farming is very difficult. Well, I just started applying these principles that I was learning, and I was just playing with them. Well, what could I do right now instead of worrying about my business? What could I do to just have fun and feel better? And that sounds like so irresponsible. It's not. It is very responsible, because as soon as I did that and I let go of the stress and struggle, do you know that a young man heard me interviewed on the radio about my farm, and he called me up on the phone and said, "Ms. McKee, I heard you interviewed on the radio. I heard you have a farm. Would like to come see your farm." I said, "Sure, come on out." He said, "I love your farm. Can we get married here?" That might sound obvious to people getting married in farms. I was going through a divorce. I didn't know anything about getting married in a barn. And here it was so successful. Word of mouth got out. Something I never would have thought of came to me, walked in the door, handed me this key to success at that farm. Now I'm the most popular thing around. I've got people coming to farm dinners and events. We do leadership retreats. Do you see worry and fear? You try to think of things. Allow your energy to draw in better ideas and possibilities than you could ever imagine.
Well, and as you were talking about the latter too, it reminds me of, especially when you hit that point where you're a little too high, it's a little uncomfortable. Instead of just saying, I'm just going to keep climbing because I've got to get to the top, it's just like even exercising. So if you're going to start lifting weights, you don't lift weights every day the same way. Otherwise, you don't build up resilience in your muscles. Yeah, you hurt yourself and you damage yourself. And the same kind of thing as you're trying to open up to creativity, you're trying to move past roadblocks or stumbling blocks. Yeah, taking that step away will let you come back with fresh perspective, without a doubt.
Exactly. So stop worrying about your mind. Like, stop trying so hard to control your thoughts. Isn't it easier to just do things that help you to feel better and then go back and focus? It is easier and far more effective. And a lot of people say you got to control negative thoughts. You got to get rid of negative thoughts. I have an entire chapter in my book titled "Negative Thoughts Are a Positive Thing." And again, that's shocking to people. They're like, what are you talking about? They truly are. Because guess what? Imagine you're driving on the highway heading for your future, the life you desire, and you start to daydream and you start to veer off the road. You hit the rumble strips on the side of the road, right? Boom, 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 boom. They are uncomfortable.
Yes.
The rumble strips are protecting you from driving off the cliff.
Right.
Think the same way, the way you feel. If you're feeling discomfort, know that it's just a red flag on the side of the road. It's a sign saying, hey, Michael, you're getting off your path to creating the life that you want. Look at the birds, appreciate the sky. Next thing you know it, you're feeling better and you're back on your path and you're clearing. So I have a statement: positivity clears the pathway to prosperity.
I like it. Positivity clears the pathway to prosperity.
But notice the word positivity is energy, not positive thoughts. Yes, they help. It's got to be positive energy. It's the way you feel. Okay. And you don't have to be perfect at it. When we were releasing Stressless Success, we applied these principles. We were not even perfect at it. Every morning, my son works for me, and we were doing a book launch. Every morning we'd get together, like, how's your energy? Not what were you thinking? How's your energy? Well, it's okay. I'm a little bit nervous. We're trying to figure this out. So we would do something to just help us slightly expand the way we felt. We became #1 bestseller in 5 categories. We were hoping just to be on the top 100. If you're in the top 100 of Amazon, you call yourself a bestseller. We got to #1 in 5 categories just by being okay at this, not being perfect at it.
Right.
Slight shifts have incredible outcomes. They create incredible outcomes for you.
I love that. You were just talking about slight shifts, which I think is so important. All this month I'm focusing on, how we can, in some sense, just give ourselves a little bit of a break to, like you were just saying, to not be perfect, to not worry. I was actually thinking when you were talking about, going off the side of the road as the rumble strips, like, the negative thoughts, it's also kind of like, your client, Monica, that when you recognize that pain and that fear of the pain is actually your body telling you, yes, there's something wrong. So just thinking positively doesn't change it. But if you really try and pay attention to it, you can understand what's going on and do something about it. And I think a lot of people that I know in the last year, not everyone, obviously everybody handled a pandemic differently, but a lot of people that I heard from or kind of heard, even maybe not say it directly, but felt like so many things were out of their control. And I think it's so important for us to recognize, of course, there's some things that are out of our control. I mean, that just is, but there's so much more we can control in how we react to them or how we allow it to affect us. And it sounds to me, especially like slight shifts of your mindset, really is about making sure you're constantly, adjusting. It's like, if you get on you get on a balance beam, nobody gets on the balance beam, even the gymnasts who've been doing it for their whole lives and just walks across and makes it, they're not, they may look like it's effortless, but their bodies are constantly adjusting to keep their balance on that. I mean, is that kind of a similar approach that you're trying to help us to embrace? Is like, there's lots of teeny tiny shifts.
I love that analogy of sort of being on a balance beam, because what are they doing? They're noticing that if they go too much this way, it doesn't feel good. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
So they bring themselves back into balance, So same thing is, if you notice that you're struggling to think when you think about something or to think a certain way, that's where you're too much in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, get out of your head and into your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easier to just turn away from the thing you're struggling. Remember, the more you struggle against something, the stronger that becomes. If Monica, and she was struggling against her pain, the pain became bigger and more powerful, right?
Yeah.
Just be okay. It's showing me something. It's teaching me something. It's those rumble strips on the side of the road that are a good thing. Negative thoughts are a positive thing. They're showing you that, hey, okay, I'm getting off my path. So for a moment, I'm going to walk away from it. I'm going to go dance and sing for a while, or play with my granddaughter, or even imagine in my head that I'm playing with my granddaughter, because that's just like fun. And then I'm going to revisit, because now I'm back on my path. I'm feeling better. And now we can drive forward and create our lives. Please, everyone that's listening, please recognize that, number one, this is all within you. You don't have to rely on anything outside of you to affect the energy within you. So you truly are no longer a victim when you know you've got that power within you. And please know that what I'm explaining is nothing to take lightly. There is more that research is showing that you can affect from the power you have within you, what happens around you. Let me give you another really silly example, but people say, well, I can't control people around me. And I have this one client, he had a resume longer than my long skinny arms, and he was high level official in the military. He had such a prominent position. He spoke at the White House. He's now an elected official. He came to me and said, Janet, I've been miserable and unhappy and frustrated, and I've tried everything and I need a solution really less. Well, I started working. I'm thinking, how am I going to help this man? And he said, there's someone that I ran against that we're now on the council together. He's an elected official. We hate each other, and we hate each other so much that it's just making my life miserable. But don't worry, there's nothing we can do about that. It's been like that for 8 years, Janet. We cannot. And I said, okay, we can't change that person. We can't change the other person, right? You have no control over other people. But guess what we did? I gave him his power back, and all we did was shift him inside. There's actually a video of him on my website about it. We shifted him inside. Do you know that other person started to treat him better and differently?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't think you can control what's around you and you feel a victim. And okay, you can't control what's around you, we think. Actually, you really can affect what happens around you when you shift what's inside of you.
Yeah.
This is nothing to take lightly. Please listen to what I'm saying and begin to play with it. Play with something small. I was going through my divorce and it was a horrible, terrible divorce where I was about to lose everything. And on my way to my farm, there's a billboard that said bankruptcy attorney.
Mhm.
And every time I drove to my farm, I had to see this billboard that said bankruptcy attorney. And it was like a knife in my heart.
Oh, yeah.
So finally I realized I couldn't fight against it. I can't fight against that billboard. It would just get stronger and have a
Mhm.
hold on me. I decided I'm just going to turn away when I know that billboard's coming. And I replaced the word bankruptcy with bank riches. I would just say bank riches, bank riches, bank riches as I was passing the billboard. And
Mhm.
it didn't feel perfect, but it felt slightly better.
Mhm.
Not only did my ex-husband and I resolve our divorce in the most positive way, and I was able to keep different things that I built, but guess what else happened, Michael? And you'll find this
Mhm.
funny. The bankruptcy billboard went away. So people say,
Love
oh,
it.
that's just a coincidence. Is it? Or was it the power within me
Yeah.
that affected what happened around me? I have a joke. I say, well, did the bankruptcy attorney, did he move away? Did he retire? Maybe he went bankrupt.
Yeah,
That's just a joke.
really.
But like things shift that seem unbelievable.
Yeah.
People change the way they treat you. Different things start to shift around you when you shift what's going on inside of you. And I
Yeah.
know that seems so too simplified and unbelievable. Trust me, just play around with it. I believe, and I don't mean to sound arrogant, I truly believe, I know this is the secret to life.
Mhm.
This is what Stressless Success is all about. When you move forward, I'm not saying just sit back and don't do anything, but imagine you're going to move forward with better energy, with more expanded and elevated the way you feel. You're going to get better results. That's true productivity. People
Yeah.
think productivity is all about getting up early, working hard, do this, do that, check off things off your list, right? But if you take action from a place of fear or a place of restricted energy, you're going to get a restricted result.
Absolutely.
You learn to shift your energy first and then take action, you are going to get a more powerful, positive result. And that's productivity. And that's why that productivity leads to greater success.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so many ways. I think I alluded to this. I don't know if I said before we started taping or not, but this is my podcast taping week. So I tape a month's worth of podcasts and people are like, I can't believe you do it. And honestly, I'm exhausted at the end of the week. But the moment when I did this, I did it very purposefully because before I was just putting in podcast interviews anywhere in my schedule. And it was stressful because I might finish with a client. I might be finishing an online presentation. I might be coming back from lunch and then I'd have a podcast guest and I could never get fully into the moment. And plus, then it was keeping me from finishing other major projects in my company. And so when I made the decision to make this switch, a couple things happened is we were just moving to 5 days a week for the podcast. So, we're trying to fill the schedule. And all of a sudden, the first week, I had such amazing focus with every person I interviewed. So our connections were deeper. Our interactions were deeper. All of a sudden, we had, kind of joint venture opportunities that were coming up. People were getting to know my business better. I was getting to know their businesses better. And from that very first week that I did this, I actually got, we'd had a guest on who was from one of now, I think 10 or 12 podcast booking agencies that send us great people.
Sure.
And I had not had that happen. So my podcast manager was, trying to fill our calendar for us. And I was trying to fill our calendar. We had one guest. It was the first one who came from one of these agencies. And she went back and said, this was such a phenomenal experience. You guys should send more people. So the owners of that company started listening to podcasts. And next thing you knew, my podcast manager goes, they would like to send us 80 guests.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, What? Like, where did that come from? That's amazing. Okay. And then all of a sudden we've got all these people at constant flow. We are, so, as when this airs in May, we will have filled every interview through November
Oh my goodness.
already and part of December. And that I would have never thought of except for finally saying, okay, I'm stressed. This is not working. I'm beating my head against the wall. I'm wondering why I'm having a podcast. Is this even beneficial, to the point where our relationships are so much greater? Our outcomes are so much greater because I finally just said, okay, well, maybe I should pay attention to this pain and figure out how to deal with it differently. And when we did, it just totally blew my mind. So I absolutely agree
You
with what you're
shifted your
saying.
energy.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You shifted the way you felt.
Yes.
And now you were saying, oh, you're feeling so stressed and exhausted, and right, because you were trying to do clients and then you were trying to
Yep.
do the podcast, and your energy was scattered
Yes.
and it was
Diluted.
making you exhausted. So many people out there, I work a
Yep.
lot with professionals, they're all burned out and exhausted and
Yep.
overwhelmed because of that. You shifted your energy and gave full focus to, because when you try to do two different, multiple things, that's really hard on your brain, by the way. People think
Yeah.
multitasking is a good thing. It's not.
No,
It's
it's
completely.
not for me.
And it drains your, yeah. So you shifted your energy, shifted your focus, shifted your energy, and look what happened. Business just flows to you. 80
Yes.
people willing to do podcast interviews. That's incredible without effort. Do you
Yeah.
notice that?
Yeah. And it was completely effortless. We went from literally one day trying to figure out how to fill a month to the next day being months booked out. And it really was. It was that moment where, and I tell my team this week, I'm like, unless something's on fire, all our one-on-one meetings are off. You're barely going to hear from me. I'm not answering email unless it's vital. And so for this entire week, other things fall by the wayside, but I understand that and I manage to it. But the benefits of it are so much greater. And that's just in one area. So once I learned that, then I have been trying to turn to other areas where we can shift again and make what we're trying to do more kind of in batches or together in groups, and it's a process, but I'm trying to be more creative in it, because the more I like get out and think, okay, well, how could I tackle this, then to your point, more solutions just present themselves. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it by any means, but once you've had a
Neither am I.
success at this level, you're like, wow, not only what have I been missing the whole time, but what else could I apply this to?
Absolutely. And you're also applying some principles that I teach workshops and my individual clients, the high performance concepts, that you are supposed to really set email, phone aside and really focus. You can end your day feeling more energized than you even
Yeah.
began it when you do this, right?
Yes.
So it's not about stress and struggle. It's about
Right.
ease and flow and joy and enjoyment.
Yes.
And that's when you're going to see more creativity flow to you too. And that's because you're opening yourself up to it. You're not blocking it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My goodness, Janet, we could talk forever on this.
Yeah.
I love it. I know we're going to have all your contact information on our show notes, but just in case somebody wants to look you up right now because they're like, I need to find out more about this woman, what's the best way for them to reach you?
The best way is janetmckee.com. JANETMCKEE.com. Because there, when the pandemic hit, I decided my book already made it to #1 bestseller. I decided to give it away for free. You have the option. If you sign up, I will actually send you a free paperback copy. You just have to pay shipping. And that's an opportunity. Or there's a link on there. You can go get the ebook for like $1 or something. We reduced it so much on Amazon. So that would be the best way. And anyone that does that, whether you purchase the book or not, I am sending everyone an immediate download of a 3-day banish burnout plan. So it's just a little download. I'll send you an email, and it's a 3-day plan to get you started immediately to get immediate results.
Excellent. I love it. And Jenna, before we go, do you have any last words of wisdom or pearls of advice for my listeners and viewers?
Yes, this is simple. I'm not always saying it's easy, but it's simple. Please remember, get out of your head. and get into your energy. Stop trying to struggle to control all of your thoughts, and instead do things that help you to feel better, to relax, to expand, and then take action from that place of positivity. Get out of your head and into your energy. If you remember that, you'll remember the whole concept.
I like it. And that's what I'm going to title the episode. So I think they won't be able to forget it. That's for sure. Janet, thank you so much for sharing all your expertise with us. It's been a pleasure to have you as a guest.
I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and you are doing great work in the world. So I'm honored to have this opportunity with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Shock Your Potential podcast. Learn more about us today at shockyourpotential.com, including details on Michael's 2 best-selling books. Tell me more, how to ask the right questions and get the most out of your employees, and sales mixology, why the most potent sales and customer experiences follow a recipe for success. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and like us today.